So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Delighted to come back to you again with another one of my scouting series for a player who hasn't been linked with Aston Villa yet, or hasn't been linked with them at all, should I say, but has been linked with moves to Manchester United, Spurs, West Ham, upper echelon Premier League teams, and somebody I wanted to have a look at because he may not be a household name, and he may not be somebody that may be on anybody's radar, but he's somebody I think that based on his usage, based on what he brings to the table, and based on the fact that he's kind of used to not playing as the main man as a striker, could be very pivotal to Aston Villa if we wanted to bring someone in to complement Danny Ings and to complement Ollie Watkins. And the reason I'm looking at strikers like that and I'm not going for the big fish is because it's kind of came out in the last 24 or 48 hours that Villa aren't going to go and blow a wedge of cash on a massive big name striker. And that they're going to focus more so on midfield reinforcements. And I think that's smart from Villa, although I would like them to bring in another striker to complement Cameron Archer, to complement Danny Ings, and to complement Ollie Watkins. I just don't know if the striker is there this year for them to go, and maybe they might overpay for a striker. Saying that, I've got two other strikers within this series that I'm going to be releasing podcasts on, one tomorrow and one the day after, or maybe even I might do two tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. And I will be looking at two other strikers, one of them which is a bigger name and is more of a household name, and the other one is somebody that I've liked the look of in the Bundesliga that may not be on everybody's lips as well. But that's for another day. Today is Habib Diallo's day, and we're going to take a little look at him as well. But before we do, I want to take a look at Strasbourg firstly. So he plays with Strasbourg, as I mentioned, and Strasbourg had a really good season last season. They sacked their coach, Thierry Laurier, at the end of his contract. They let his contract run out. And that ran out on the 30th of June, 2021. And they brought in a manager called Julien Stéphan. And Julien Stéphan has really gotten a tune from this squad. And this squad finished sixth, as I say, in Ligue 1. They finished 3 points behind Europa League qualification and only 6 points. They finished 3 points behind Europa League qualification, correct, and 6 points, should I say, behind Champions League qualification. So they had a really good season. They scored 60 goals, had a plus 17 goal difference, and were pretty good at the back as well. So from that point of view, this is a Strasbourg team that was up on the up and up, and that was mainly due to their strike partnership, which consisted of predominantly, and this is a guy whose name that I am going to butcher, but I'm going to have a go at it anyway, Ludovic Ajorque, I think is how you pronounce his Ajorque, how you pronounce his name. I'm not 100% sure. He scored 12 goals, and his incumbent, his partner in crime, Habib Diallo, scored 11 goals. But Habib Diallo's the impressive part of this for Habib Diallo is that that he did that coming off the bench more than Ludovic Ajorque did, because Habib Diallo actually only started 16 games for Strasbourg last season and came off the bench in 15 of those games, yet he still had an 11 goal haul and he had one assist as well. So very efficient player. When he was utilized well. He was able to use his time on the field and score goals, and I think that's really important, an important thing, because if he does come in here to Aston Villa, he's going to be in a rotation with Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings, Cameron Archer. And I think that, that he could be somebody, and if we are looking for a striker, to bring in somebody to complement that stable of strikers, well, I think this guy could be a very, very shrewd purchase indeed. But let's take a look at some of the stats to see how he fares out in relation to some of the guys that we already have in the books. So here we have it. Habib Diallo, he's 6'1.5 inches. So he'd be immediately, I think he would be our tallest striker, but not by much. He's right-footed. He is 27, just gone 27, or just coming up, will be 27 years of age in a couple of days' time. We're recording this on the 16th of June, and will be 27 on the 18th of June. His current transfer market value, as per transfermarket.co.uk, is £10 million. We can see there he scored 11 goals last season. He scored that accounted for 0.64 goals per 90 minutes, which is really high. It's up there in the top 12% of all strikers in Europe last season. He does have some experience playing from the right hand side, but not an awful lot. He is predominantly a centre forward. And what we can see about this guy is this guy loves to get into the box. He loves to be on the end of stuff. He participates relatively little in the build-up play. He's not a huge passer of the ball, as in he's not going to be one of these guys who's going to drop, he's going to link play, he's going to get on the end of the ball again. That's for the Ollie Watkins of this world. That's for the Danny Ings of this world to do. Habib Diallo, there's a Freudian slip. Habib Diallo is more of a goal scorer and a goal getter. And that's why I think it's an interesting one for him to come in, because we have the effort of the other two guys. And we will see this again. We will see this when we look at guys in greater detail in a moment. He is a very good finisher of the ball. He's really, really efficient when he takes shots with the ball. He doesn't miss many big chances. We can see there he's missed 8 big chances, which isn't a lot in the greater scheme of things. His scoring frequency is brilliant. Comes in at pretty much every game and a half is when he's scoring goals, and that is just it's actually under that. So he scores a goal every 1.5 games, which is absolutely brilliant considering he's come off the bench an awful lot this season as well. And that is something that we should marvel at, and that's something we should be looking at. Somebody who has that poacher's instinct. One of the big things with him, or one of the things that I found when I watched him, is that when he does get the ball, he doesn't create space for other people. He wants to bring that ball in. He wants to attract that pressure to himself. And within the Premier League, I don't think that's a very bad thing. Ollie Watkins tries to do it, but I don't think it's his best attribute. Danny Ings doesn't do it, and that's certainly not what Danny Ings brings to the table. But Habib Diallo does that. He tries to attract attention to himself and bring people in, kind of like Benteke did when he was on form for Aston Villa. It's like his quality as a finisher just bounces off the page. You know, when you watch him play, when you watch the goals that he scored, he can score goals at a very good clip. He's efficient. He's very effective in front of goal, and that's what he wants to do. He's got superb composure. He doesn't fluff his lines. He doesn't fluff his lines in one-on-ones. He's something I think we need, a natural finisher, because for all the great things that Watkins and Ings do, yes, Cameron Archer is coming up through the ranks, but I think that Habib Diallo is that natural finisher to come in and could complement people, specifically if we were going to let maybe a Cameron Archer go out on loan again this season. And I know a lot of people want him to stay. I actually wouldn't be I don't mind what happens as long as it's the best thing for his development, because we need to protect Cameron Archer at all costs, given the talent that he has. And yes, if the club feel that he is good enough, or he has progressed well enough to play in the Premier League week in, week out, 100%, I absolutely agree. But I'm going to trust the club to deal with him how they see fit for his development, and based on what they see for him, because what they see with him, because I see a really, really good player there, and I don't want to risk throwing him in there too early and then maybe getting a couple of lull years as he tries to figure things out. I prefer him to join the Aston Villa front line when he's fully formed, and he could very well be fully formed now. I just want the club to make that determination more so than me watching him for whatever, less than 20 games or less than 30 games that he's played in his senior career. But that's Cameron Archer. This is Habib Diallo. And Habib Diallo, he's adept at scoring goals with his right, with his left foot, and with his head as well. So he's somebody that isn't going to be pigeonholed about getting the ball to him in a certain space or certain specific shot area. Just like, because I think that with Danny Ings and with Ollie Watkins, I think they are hampered with the fact that they're very one foot dominant, and we don't really have that good aerial threat either that goes with either of those players. Also with Habib Diallo, before we really look into his stats and we dig into why his stats are so good as well, he is like he's one of these guys who he won't do a massive amount of work in trying to win the ball back, but he will pressure, specifically in the mid third and the attacking third. You can see there, if he forces an error, he will capitalize on it. if he forces an error, he will capitalize. If you have a defender that's hesitant and he gets the ball off him, you'll see him score a goal. He's that type of player. He's a nuisance in and around that area, and he's well adept at sneaking and robbing balls if he gets the opportunity to do it, taking it around the goalkeeper, slanting it into the back of the net. And Villa, I don't think, have somebody with that composure that can do that in the forward line. He always puts himself in a brilliant position to score. Even when he's receiving ball with his back to goal, he has this ability, kind of like, it's not as gangly and as unorthodox as somebody like Filippo Inzaghi was back in the late 90s or early 2000s, for anyone of that vintage. Inzaghi always had this brilliant ability to be able to hold the ball up for somebody who was so skinny. He was able to hold the ball up and then get turned out of nowhere and have a snapshot. Diallo kind of has that as well, but he's a lot more fluid, and he looks like he knows what he's doing a lot more than Felipe Inzaghi did. But he's able to turn around, hit the ball in a pivot. He's got decent speed as well to be able to turn, get away from players, but he doesn't use that speed to go on massive lung busting runs. What he does is he uses it to get out of trouble and then backs himself to shoot and to score. One of the things we can see here from his the average shot distance is, his average shot distance is 12 yards out from goal. So he gets in the box, he gets in the end of corners, and he's a poacher's instinct inside within the box. And I really like that, because I think that's something that Villa need against certain teams, specifically teams we're going to beat. We need to have that ruthless striker, and maybe we don't need to have somebody who is all effort all around the field like an Ollie Watkins or a Danny Ings. Maybe if we've got somebody up there that can occupy the defenders, make them make a mistake, and when they do, capitalize on it. Because based on the last 2 seasons, one of the weakest areas, I would say, with Ollie Watkins is one-on-ones with goalkeepers, and that's something that we would immediately increase, immediately make better by the signing of somebody like Habib Diallo to change it up and make it different for how we would play against certain teams. Like, he's a penalty box player as well. Definitely, his movement within the penalty box is really good. He gets into areas to help him score. As I say, he's left-footed, right-footed with his head. It doesn't really matter what way it comes to him. He's comfortable. He's composed, and he does show that on tape as well. He's not really a player that you're going to see blow your mind with creating chances for other players, but he can roam to the sides, as I mentioned previously, and sometimes when he roams, it does help the build up. And when we've got somebody who maybe trundling through the middle, like a Philippe Coutinho, he's not just going to occupy and rob all that space in the middle, like we've seen happen sometimes before with a Danny Ings or with Ollie Watkins. He's cute enough that he's able to move out onto the wings, and he's comfortable enough, albeit not his best position, he's comfortable doing that. He does support teammates in the attacking play as well. But once again, as I say, this guy, all it's in his head is scoring goals. He's a born-bred goal scorer, and it comes across on the screen as well. His defensive role, as you can see there by his statistics, it's just really to press, hinder opponents building up, try to make them make mistakes higher up the field, but not really diving into tackles, not trying to win the ball as much back up the field. But he does put in his pressures, and he does tend to track back a small bit for a striker. You can see that there with the amount of pressures that he has in the middle third of the field as well, and the pressures that he has in the attacking third. So he doesn't shirk his defensive responsibilities, but he's not going to be somebody who's going to track a left back all the way back towards his own penalty area, put in a tackle, and get the crowd going again. Like, there's very few strikers who do that, but Habib Diallo, as I say, he wants to be up there. He wants to be there to get into good positions to score goals. And looking at some of his statistics here, we can see that from his attacking statistics, they're actually really, really good. Average shot distance, the goals per shot. So he scores 0.18 goals per shot he takes, and that puts him right up in the top 20% of all strikers within Europe's top 5 leagues. And that is, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this ruthless efficiency. I'm looking for this guy who can come in and make his own chances out of nothing. And when he gets a shot away, he's going to pop it right in the corner and not straight down the keeper's throat. And that's what this guy does. Really high shot on target rate, really, really decent amount of shots per game. He takes shots. Once again, if you don't shoot, you can't score. And he takes shots at a much bigger clip than what we see the current incumbents, the current strikers that we have already. his scoring frequency for me is phenomenal. A goal every 140 minutes is really good, specifically for a striker who's coming off the bench. Came off the bench in 15 games this season, only started in 16 as well. You can see that what I mentioned about his not really being in the build-up phase of play, you can see that borne out there with regards to his passing stats. Doesn't really have a massive amount of attempts. His completion rate isn't good at all. Doesn't have an awful lot of key passes. But where he does have here is goal-creating acts. So what he does on the field does create opportunities for goal scoring, for goal scoring within the team, and that's okay with me. I like that because, as I say, give him the ball, and somebody's going to have to take the shot at some stage. And sometimes I think Aston Villa they've been guilty of maybe trying to have the perfect shot. And we've seen that with Cameron Archer and his snapshots for the under-23s, and that's what gets people up off their seats. Somebody like Habib Diallo can be like that as well. Just knows how to find the bottom corner or the top corner or wherever the ball needs to go into the net. He's well able to carry the ball. You'd know that he's played on the wing previously as well. You can see there his dribble completions up in the top 30%. He's pretty successful. It's coming in at roughly 1 in every 2 of his dribbles are successful. As I said previously, his pressure rates are really good with regards to how he gets around the field and how he influences play in the defensive area, specifically in the middle third of the field also. Let's look at the bullseye map that we have here on the side as well. This puts him up against Ollie Watkins and Danny Ings. And what we can see here is that while we'll see here the defensive side over here, the pressures to at the, what we're going to call it, the 10 o'clock on the clock here. He doesn't come anywhere near the lads in pressures, but he does a decent amount. And we can see that the other guys on the team, they spend an awful lot of time pressuring the ball. They take nowhere near as many shots as Habib Diallo has in over the last 365 days for Strasbourg, and nowhere near the amount of shots that they take go on target either. So there's a worrying trend with both our strikers here, is that they don't take an awful lot of shots, but even when they do take shots, their shot on target rate is quite low. You know, we were looking at Ollie Watkins as a shot on target rate of under 35% of his shots go on target. That's Danny Ings, under 35% go on target. With Ollie Watkins, it's up closer to 40%. Habib Diallo is up closer to 45%. More shots on target, more likely to score goals. Once again, we can also see here that the goals per shot, he's so far out ahead of the guys there. And when we look at big chances missed, he comes in the middle of the pack, in between Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins. Actually misses less big chances than I thought when I was looking at this as well. I would imagine if I was to look back on those, most of those are one-on-ones. But where the biggest delta between Habib Diallo and the two current strikers that we have here is in scoring frequency. Our two current strikers score goals at like 1 in 3 rate, whereas Habib Diallo is scoring goals at 1 in 1.5, and as I mentioned, that's coming off the bench as well. So there's a lot to like about this guy, both in his statistics, but both on what you see on the field as well, and also the current role he's playing within Strasbourg. You know, if he's moving towards Aston Villa, he's not going to be this guy who's going to want to be the number one striker, or maybe he will, but I think the biggest thing here is that he's going to have the experience of coming off the bench and trying to affect the game. I think it's a learned experience that gets overlooked an awful lot, that if you are the cock of the walk, and if you are the number one striker in a club, and next thing you move to another club, and all of a sudden you don't have 45, 50, 60 minutes to ease yourself into a game. You only have 20, 25 minutes to ease yourself in the game. You're not used to coming on as a substitute. That can be difficult, because certain players, you will look at it when you look at when certain players and what minutes they score within, they kind of almost get hot periods during games, and that happens regularly. And it's almost a case of, right, a team is going to feel out another team for the first 15 minutes, and then boom, someone like Mohamed Salah springs into action for 25 minutes and does a load of damage, and that's essentially a tactic that some teams will use. But when you've got a player like Habib Diallo, who's used to coming off the bench, he doesn't need those minutes to warm up. And I'm not saying Salah needs those minutes either, but you know what I'm getting at here, that his natural instinct will allow him to get his eye in on goal pretty quickly, and I would hope that would translate into the Premier League. So just very, very quickly looking at how he fares against the other guys here in more granular detail here. So once again, a lot of green on the Habib Diallo side here. He's got more shots on target, more shots. He scores more goals per shots taken. He's got a shorter average shot distance, and he wins more aerial duels than Ollie Watkins. We can see there that it's very comparable then in the passing stats between himself and Ollie Watkins. And once again, in the possession, when he's in and out of possession, himself and Watkins perform pretty much the same in an awful lot of areas there, with Watkins having more pressures. Watkins pressures at 17.62 pressures per game, and Habib Diallo pressures at 15.83. But they're very similar in the passing and the possession in and out stats there, but the attacking stats are very heavily weighted in Habib Diallo's favor, which is something that interests me. Even more so when we look at Danny Ings. Danny Ings, Habib Diallo almost beats him in every key category, without a shadow of a doubt. Once again, he loses out in the pressure stakes. And I think our two strikers are probably doing too much work in chasing the ball down, and they're almost too industrious in trying to win the ball back, as opposed to being in the right areas to put the ball in the back of the net. And there is an argument to be made that that's something that needs to change this season. And the only way that's going to change is by having a better midfield to win that ball back, and to create a better platform for our strikers. But we will, as I say, time will tell with regards to that. And don't worry, I have Cameron Archer here. I don't have all the stats for Cameron Archer because, believe it or not, some of the stats are not tabulated for championship teams. So I only have some stats, and I've popped those in here. So what we can see here, Cameron Archer comes in at 2.5 shots per 90 minutes. He's got a better shot on target rate than Habib Diallo. Habib Diallo comes in at 44%. Cam Archer comes in at 44.4%. Very similar goals per shot ratio, very similar average shot distance, and so on. You can see here, you can see what I'm trying to lay out here, that Cameron Archer is getting there. He's getting to be a really efficient striker, and I want to see him continue on with his development for sure. So that's a little quick one on Habib Diallo. A Strasbourg striker, hasn't been linked, as I mentioned, but the qualities he brings to the table from a striking efficiency point of view, as opposed to what we have already, but he also marries in some of those aspects of the defensive side of things that our two incumbents have been asked to do with regards to pressure rates and stuff like that. I think Habib Diallo would, if we could get him for that 10 million mark, I think he'd be an absolute steal. I'm going to be really honest with you. 27 years of age, just coming up in the Senegalese international, has a lot of experience playing in the French league. He's played with Metz. He had a 1-2 rate almost for Metz. He's got a 1-3 rate for Strasbourg. He's been a proficient striker wherever he's gone. 10 caps for Senegal, 2 goals as well. So this is a guy that I think could be a very good cog in the wheel, and somebody that I think could excel within the Premier League as well, not just with Aston Villa, and that's why I picked him out here. So that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are enjoying these scouting series. I'm really enjoying them anyway, and I think that's the main thing. But if you do like this, please give it a thumbs up. Please like it. Please share and subscribe to the podcast. Please share and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you aren't doing that already. I have also a Patreon page. Don't often ask for anything from you guys, but if you guys are interested in this, all of my scouting series pieces, and I will be continuing to do these into the season as well, looking at specific players and doing scouting series. And I will be putting all of these slide decks up on Patreon. If you guys do wish to see them, you can check that out as well. But as I say, we will always bring to you in podcast form at a later date then as well. So if anybody's interested in that, you can check it out as well, patreon.com, and you just search for the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. But everybody, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. You've been legends. You're always legends. And thank you so much for everything you do for the podcast. Stay safe, stay healthy. And until next time, all that's left to say is up the Villa.